Nice. Welcome back. Welcome back. It's been a while since we got this one going. Make sure we're on the same page right here. You are in. Let me know in the chat so I know everything's up and actually working properly. All looks good on my end. Yeah, there we go. There we go. That's helpful. Appreciate that. Me get our little things going. So we start, moving, grooving, vibing, and sliding. So listen, welcome back to another, the second episode of Unlicensed. And listen, we really tried to make this thing happen. But in the interest of Men's Mental Health Month, my mental health is kind of fraying, right? And I think we have to come to a place where we can sometimes understand you got to take a step back. You have to take a step back, find what works for you, re-energize, reinvigorate. And a larger part of that came down to probably burnout, probably doing, writing a check that my body was not prepared to cash. Several times over, if you guys have been with us on this journey for this first full year, today makes the first full year. June 11th makes a full year on YouTube of me saying, hey, I want to do 2-a-days. Right? Like this was a football camp. I'm going to do 2-a-days for an entire year because that's discipline. That's how one of the easiest ways for me to sit there and showcase it. That's discipline. That's what it looks like. So it's when stuff gets bad, when it's awful, when you're tired, when you don't want to do the damn thing, that's when you show up anyway. Right? So I had to take a step back. So I cut back on a couple of live streams that I wanted to do, and I was super excited about doing this, and then I completely forgot. Yesterday it was the Knicks playing, so we had to rearrange, shift some gears last minute so we can catch that historic comeback from down 25. That was amazing, right? Shout out to New York. Please don't destroy the city. Please please don't destroy the city. That's all we can ask for. It's been a while since New York had a shot at the chip, and this is fantastic for us. This is something I think we all kind of expected, we all kind of needed. But besides that, so with all that being said, we had to take some time off. Not from the Subscriber Sundays; those are just fun. But some of these are a little deeper, right? Some of these topics are a little more important. They're a little in there. This is shout out to you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Happy tubeversary. Yeah. Yeah. We try to make sure we're out here and do what we can. Yeah, I really appreciate the support. This, again, and shout out to Shiraz, shout out to you for being like the greatest moderator we have on this channel. Always reminding me and say, yo, you should be doing this, you should be doing this. Yeah, we got we got a stream today, right? We got a stream today. Again, yesterday we wanted to go in on this topic, but we couldn't because the Knicks, right? So shout out to the Knicks. We had to be there. We had to just like when I was little, when I used to watch my father, watch not video games, watch basketball games. I thought if I went to sleep, right, the Bulls would lose. So first thing I did when I woke up was like I go tell my father, yo, what happened? Who won? Right? Super excited. He was like, yeah, no. Bulls lost because you went to sleep. He didn't say that, but it definitely felt like that. But so we saw that historic, great. Other things that happened in the interim that probably kind of frayed and pulled at you, made you feel a little icky. We got the results from the Carmelo Anthony trial, and a lot of people up in arms. And things like this end up being really, really dicey in terms of you want to have this almost unilateral support. But we have to take into account, we can't keep putting ourselves in positions where we're going to be judged by a criminal justice system. Not saying that what he engaged, not saying you can, how we feel about it. You put yourself in that position. Now expecting fairness, because you can look at the data, you can look at court cases, you can look at sentences, and you can see that there tends to be a leniency bias towards one, women versus men, and two, black versus white. The key is not to put yourself in the crosshairs. I know sometimes it's unavoidable, but it's one of the things that, kind of irked people, got people going, got people sort of in their feels. So in that respect, right, there's a lot that's going to be happening, a lot that's going to be unfolding. But 35 years is a long. Appeals are always a thing. You can probably get yourself a better representation. But again, the best thing we can do, and this is at this point talking to men right here, the best thing we do is completely not put ourselves in those situations before we start casting blame and saying, was this person or this person? Can't put ourselves in those situations. If that means you want to go to Dr. Umar's school, then put yourself around other Black people. You want to homeschool, okay, but the solution can't be reliance on someone else to play fair. That's not how this works. But we can set that aside. We can dedicate an entire different stream for something like that. We can go over the details, particularly in the case and the one they're using to compare to this in terms of sentencing. The situations are lined up pretty closely, but the sentencing is very different. How prosecutor decided or was instructed to include lesser charges. Okay, now we cannot ignore that there's always going to be bias in how things are prosecuted. But again, we can delve into that. Now we want to talk about, again, one of the factors just about mental health and how one of the biggest things preventing us from actually finding ourselves in healthy, stable relationships is that you've been influenced. Your mind is not your own, right? And I mean that in the most ominous sense of terms that we can put together. Your mind is not your own. By hook or by crook, you've been influenced in some shape or form, where instead of it before having to be like, okay, I need you to think about something critically, and I need you to come to your own conclusion. We don't do that anymore. What we do is we wait for someone to tell us how to feel about it. And yeah, it seems silly. It seems like you can spot it, right? When it becomes almost overt and almost obvious, you can spot it. A lot of us look and say, okay, I never wanted a Porsche 911 until I was advertised to, right? Oh, what's going on? That's my brother showing up. We'll see the diaries. So you're being influenced too. And in this way, you no longer think critically. This is how I tell you what to think. I simply inundate you with the same instances of the same conversation. Easy example. Or whatever you guys do. Where'd you guys pick that up? Where'd that come from? How did it disseminate from wherever it started down the line until you have women in their late 50s doing that? How did that happen? Was that a conscious decision? Was that something that you said amongst your small friend group? You decided, oh, we're going to pick this up. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to say. The same thing with slang. Same thing. It permeates. It starts with an idea somewhere else, and then you see enough of it, and now you think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is now the new norm. Think about it. When I want to, as a corporation, as a government, if I want you to think about something or not think about something, well, that would be the greatest control of the populace I can ever sort of imagine. So you could spend years, decades trying to come up with a foolproof way to advertise to people, to influence their minds. And then it came down to just it being simple as, I'll just flood you with it. The 24-hour news cycle became a thing, and then our depression skyrocketed. You saw it again. If it bleeds, it leads. You saw it again and again and again and again. And then you started feeling bad. Then you started feeling morose about the world. Stuff stopped being cheery. You needed help. Now you needed assistance. Now fear was a very regular thing in your life. How does that really pertain to when it comes down to relationship? Well, when you open up any sort of app, whenever you take a look, what are you going to see? You're going to see, okay, men bad, right? Men bad in whatever fashion, in which if you're looking at mainstream media, if you're looking at just what we're doing online right here in these spaces, you're going to come across eventually men bad, right? That becomes this ubiquitous thing, men bad, all the time. That's all you're going to see again and again and again. And we highlighted a video where two women were talking, basically reading off the same script about how, they went out with a doctor over 6 feet, super excited about it. And then they had the very same scripted response. But you won't ever find anyone that questions that, because this is exactly what you're looking to hear. Now, I would be concerned. I'm always concerned when I find I'm not, the owner of my own faculty. When I'm no longer in control of how I think, what I think, when I think it. This is something that tends to be very, very suspicious to me. Think about it in the same way where when it's time for you're driving, you're at a light, and it's a long light, immediately my hand would grab my phone. And within seconds, it was open, swiped open, password, whatever, using your face, whatever, Instagram was open. And I don't remember succeeding authority to that, right? I don't remember when I said, oh, this would be fine, let me let this happen. But this is now what became out of habit. Whenever you essentially start moving on autopilot, this is what happens. You get to this point where you're no longer really in active control. So when you go on and you start talking about how awful men are, and you're relating experiences that were never yours, where did that come from? In an effort to say, well, we have to empathize with women that look like us, Black women that look like us, then this has been their experience. Life has been awful, has been terrible for them. So therefore, it's terrible for me as well. You have young women, 18, 19 years old, complaining about men ain't ish based on what worldly experience of theirs. We don't look at our individual lives anymore because now we're interconnected. And now the internet does the thinking for us. Influencers do the thinking for us. You want to see a movie, but one of your favorite influencers or reviewers comes on and says, nah, this movie shit. And immediately you're like, your excitement for it kind of dies down. Think about how many channels are just exist because people are simply watching people unbox tech, unbox a gift. You're not actively part of your own life and part of your own entertainment anymore. All that's happening here is, someone is telling you how to move, how to think. If you consider, right, and we're going to nerd out for a little bit, right? When's the last time you changed your mind? When's the last time you had the wherewithal, you were confronted with new information and you said, I got to change my mind, I'm wrong about this? When you see something like, we take with physics, when they finally measured, they got a measurement for the Higgs boson, they said, oh shit, 125.11 GeV. That supports the standard model. String theory had nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. It proved, hey, string theory is still a theory. Well, what does science say? You got to abandon it. You got to let it go. It's great. It felt good for a couple of years, but now that doesn't work. We have to move on. We were all taught how to do the same thing when the scientific method. Those of us that were in public school, you always talk about scientific method, right? In the dioramas and the use the poster board, you had to make up an experiment. You had to do hypothesis, your observation, your materials. You had to do all these things, your conclusion. We don't apply that anymore in the real world. What we simply accept something that felt good, and then we run with that. And then that's enough. If you think about, right, we'll take this, what he's saying right here. These women ain't shit. It's time for me to go to the gym and sit there for a while. Listen, I'm always a fan of people going to the gym. That's a safe space for men, right? That's an absolute safe space for men. But my question now would be, right, in terms of your experience, how much of this women ain't being ish is your experience or what we start consuming online and sort of take as gospel? Unless, listen, this is not to knock, this is not to take away from people's real world experience. A lot of people feel the way they do about women because they've been burnt. It sucks. But when I compare the women I know personally in my life, and I know this is an effort in order to sort of cull the people that are close to me because I only want to be associated with high quality people. Regardless of what you've got going, high quality people is what I want around me. So I never really feel like I have to dip, I have to slip, I have to become something else. I have to be out there looting the stores because the Knicks won. Right? I don't want to be that. I want to be someone looking, observing, saying, "Wow, it was a great game." Let me go continue about my life. So I surround myself with people with that same sort of mindset, the same sort of thinking. What we see today is people without those real world experiences simply accepting it as truth. This is the easiest way to influence. This is the easiest way to guide you along a certain path in which I need. Think about it from the larger perspective of media, of government. Something awful comes out. Epstein list comes out. We should be up in arms, right? We should have been up in arms. We should have been grabbing those Second Amendment guns and demanding justice. The people on this list, they need to be prosecuted. They needed special prosecution, a special tribunal, something. But what happened? We got surrounded and inundated with more information about something else. And then we shift. Not all of us, enough of us. When enough of the national conscience shifts, these issues no longer become important. Right now, the national conscience has shifted to a minaret. You see it in social media. You see it on mainstream media, in the movies. Everything is surrounded about something a man failed to do. Now you have women online. You have people online in marriages, divorced, all of them saying the same thing. These men ain't shit. Don't get married. There's nothing in it for you. As a man, when you constantly are inundated with this, what do you think it's supposed to do? By design, we are now, just like women, inundated with this information. And then we start to get curious, what happened to the men? Why are the men not participating in the way we wanted them to all along? Why are they not showing up? Why are they not doing all the things that we've demanded that they should be doing in the first place? Why the men don't care? What happened? What took them out the game? What happened? You don't know. You seem blind to the fact. When you see video after video, or a segment on the news station after segment talking about these men aren't approaching. These men are approaching, and then you sound like you're almost blind to the last 15 years of experience. This leaves men to say, yeah, outside of what I produce, what is my utility? What is my value? You don't see me as human. The minute I stop producing, my utility to you drops. Therefore, so does your loyalty. So when you look at men and say, you like quoting the statistics about how many self-delete, how many are not participating in the labor force, how they fail to do. But there's no longer an incentive for this good behavior. Not any incentive that involves women. When you constantly kick someone while you purposely have made them stay down, what's the best case scenario you can hope for? Probably indifference. The worst case is violence. Is the direction you're going to find more and more people fine with that. When we say about chivalry, these are concepts that used to protect women in that sense. But when you constantly telling men, especially young boys, that they're worthless, and yeah, you're not going out there yourself saying that, but someone that looks just like you is, you swipe and you see it again, and again. Hey, you put down the phone. You're tired of that. You turn on the TV. Here's a whole movie about it. Here's a whole segment about it. Oh, let me go to Netflix. Here's a whole documentary fixating on this. How you're not enough, how you're not doing enough, how you're not showing up in arbitrary ways that continue to stretch and beleaguer their imagination. What do we hear a lot about? As men, you have to step up, right? You have to step up and you have to check other men. And one of the things that I stumble upon is like, how do you do that? How am I responsible for what someone that is not in my family, in my circle, in my extended family, someone I have no regard for, someone that is outside, is so far removed from me, how am I responsible for his behavior? When we talk about men, We talk about men as a monolith, as they all are the same. They all do this thing. Welcome back, Mohammed. We all do the same thing. But in reality, when we talk about women, you get to be granular, you get to be the exception, you get to be individuals. You can see any type of, panel you have when men and women discussing, and a man will say something, well, not me, to the point where the ubiquitous response from men is always something like, well, not all men. And then women are getting upset that you constantly say not all men, because you don't treat us as individuals. You get hurt in a relationship, and more than likely that's going to happen to everyone that attempts relationships at some point in time. Your first time is probably not the time you hit it out the park. When Susie broke your heart in 4th grade, yeah, you probably weren't going to get married to Susie. You're going to have to get over that. But when you carry that trauma forward, all the next person is responsible for it. They're responsible for it. You don't have enough online checking that and saying, stop. You've picked off of men. You are the common denominator in your relationships. Leave those men out of it, because what do you think happens? Those men that you actually do want to be with, that you do admire, that you do look and say, you guys are kind of dope. What do you think they're looking at? What do you think they're listening to? They're watching you, the way you behave. And maybe it's not you, but it's a group around you. It's your close friends around you. Why would we not think you're not the average of the people around you? So if you're moving and grooving with people that talk like that, why would I think any different? But we're here to talk more about the inability when we're framing sort of our argument. We're going to use an example for this, and it's what you hear. Another thing you hear a lot about in terms of the complaints about Black men. It's about loyalty. It's about race loyalty. When Black men date out versus when white women, when Black women date out, and we'll get into it. We're gonna break it down granularly so we can sort of bring this topic sort of together. Before, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel, like the stream, double tap the screen, all that good YouTube stuff. This is one of the best ways you can actually support the channel, so we can grow. And shout out to us. It's our full year on YouTube. Let's see. Little prompt. So, okay, we will get.
I think for Black men, this conversation that we keep having online, we want to go where we are loved. And there's such a disloyalty factor there that we really don't talk about, meaning that Black women are known to be loyal to Black men. Black men can't really say that they're loyal to Black women. So
when we're framing an argument like this, the foundations, again, we're trying to harken back to the scientific method. When you're framing an argument, that foundation is where you're going to say, if X equals this, this is a truism, therefore I'm going to build on top of that. Right? Yeah, we're gonna get into that, right? Exactly. You can see it immediately. So when the first thing you're saying is about loyalty, that Black women are more loyal to Black men and not, how do you just actually measure that? How do you look at that when we're looking at, and I think it's fine if we look at actual marriages, we look at that, right? But every race is race loyal to the high degree. Black people about 85 to 87% race loyal. It goes higher the more money you guys make. Then you guys are locked in. It's something like 90 something percent. So where is the disloyalty when we're talking 9 out of 10? 9 out of 10 are the same race. Where is the disloyalty there? So we're talking not about so much about the stats. The stats are important here because that sets an actual argument. When you see these conversations going on, what ends up happening is it's just talking about, I feel like this. It sounds good to me. And that's enough. I'm telling you, hey, Black men aren't loyal. Black women are loyal. Okay. Black men bad. Check. Black women are good, are the reason all this, all things are good because of the black woman. Okay. But when your first statement is wrong and you never stop to question it because it feels good, that's the only reason that's keeping you right there. It feels good. It feels right because you've been inundated with everything like this again and again and again and again and again. So how do you combat something like that? How do you come to someone and say, have you looked at the stats? You can see some of those arguments, how they go inside the chat, inside the comment section. No one cares. No one cares to be proven right or wrong. I just feel like this, so you can't move me off this stump. In fact, what you'll often see is the minute someone or a man comes in the comment section and tries to combat that with any type of discernible, all you see is now insults and shaming. Oh, here come the men proving your point. But your point wasn't valid at all. It wasn't anywhere near the truth. It was based on your perception of the world. And what do we see all the time? The complaint is about a small set of men when they're dating out. It's usually about what? The athletes. The college athletes going pro. Look at his white wife. And we covered that a couple of different lives ago where a text message was sent like, this is the formula. And the formula works for most men. Yeah, become useful to him, right? Don't shout, don't yell, don't get upset, right? Like that. You're giving good advice to this scenario to most men. Yeah, it got a little hairy when you start talking about, shame the black woman, make him regret all that, right? You can't do anything about his attraction there, but just shame her, make her feel like she's the worst of her. That's underhanded. But what we want to say and focus on is that you're looking at a sliver of the population and looking and saying, because this is in my face, because I see it again and again and again, that's enough. The amount of women that with the man or, single mom, and that baby is as black as they are, chances are that father was black, right? So it's not as if this is happening in mass in a way to say that this loyalty thing, that they're not. Now, we understand this. This becomes a conversation about shame, about trying to keep you where you are. We'll let it play a little bit more. But the point here is, for men, for black men here, the conversation that we're hearing, that we're subject to is, you're useless, you're terrible, you're awful, but when you decide to get up and go elsewhere, you're wrong. You're indicating how much you dislike us, you don't love us, how we're all a detriment to you. And then that becomes enough. So men are saying what? The good ones are at least saying, I'm going to leave you be. I'm going to leave you to do what you got to do. I'm going to go elsewhere to do what I need to do. If I go overseas, if I go outside this race, if I date someone that's completely antithetical like you, but that's also black, that has to be fair. You keep indicating how much you dislike a person and you get upset when that person says, I'll just see my way out of your life. This is what a lot of us are sort of dealing with in mass. On one hand, we're being told that we're necessary, you need us, or you have to pay all these bills, but at the same time, don't trust them. The biggest predator for women is a man. It sounds good. But with all the information at your fingertips, at your ability to open up your phone and look anything up, outside classified documents and stuff that you really want to know, the data and stats are there. The biggest predator to women is a man. No. No. Heart disease is even before that, right? Like, realistically, you can look it up. Men and in terms of femicide, it's like fourth. Like four. It's like a distant fourth. But that doesn't sound good. That doesn't fit the narrative. So you just are left to say, well, okay, that sounds good. That plays and feels right in what I think, what I've been influenced to think, and I accept it, and I just move forward with that. And I tell someone else, and I put this into my belief system, and now this is going to help determine how I treat men going forward, how I look at them, how I interact with them, how I don't care about them. And I'm just going to look and say, of course, this is normal. It's supposed to be like that. Well, whenever you test some of these people's convictions, it tends to fall apart, or it gets where they start, changing subject, gaslighting, emotions, anecdotal experience, because none of this was ever yours. None of this really was yours. Let's let it continue.
When you see a Black woman who marries someone outside of her race, you're so quick to disrespect her, say negative things about her, criticize her, without realizing that she's going to be the loyal person. And maybe if she is dating or she's married outside of her race, it's because of the people that she has connected with.
So fair, right? Fair. That last part. All right, what's going on? So that's a fair statement. It could be because of her experiences, but it can't be for a man's experience. Why is he not allowed the same type of experience? Why is he not allowed the same form of grace that says, oh shit, yeah, in my life, I tried dating Black and it didn't go well. So in my experience, I had a better relationship with people that were not my race. That's allowed. Is that not allowed? Are we not supposed to say, yo, I get it. Close the conversation, right? This is this person's experience. A man's anecdotal experience is not enough to defend the whole. And since we have this tendency to be the worst of our experiences, the worst among us, we're all thugs until proven innocent, to proven not. Well, because you were inundated with images of thugs, and it feeds into your belief. That's why you see a lot of people people get flabbergasted when you're Black and you're well spoken, you're articulate, you're successful. They look and say, I don't know what to. Now I'm going to isolate you and say you're a one-off. Oh, you're different. No, I keep a team around me just like me. But this is when we're trying to confront what the narrative says versus what reality is. And how do you go about convincing people of that when you're on the back foot as a man, when you're on the feeling like you're in the back foot constantly, whenever we have a time or a space to carve out to talk about our issues, we're constantly told again, those aren't real. That's not important. If you really cared about your mental health, you would do something about it. This is what we hear, especially during Men's Mental Health Month, or flat out, yo, I don't care about your mental health. I've got videos saved that I wanted to use and highlight. So yeah, we don't care about your mental health. Okay. What is it that we think is supposed to happen from this? Because I get it. Right now, a lot of us, we're not thinking anything ahead of time. We're not thinking 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Just the same thing when the Me Too movement came out. Just the same thing when we all got caught up and said, he catcalled me. That's abuse. We got caught up in that fever. So what happens? We don't think about the next stage of this. We don't think about what happens when that next generation that's sharing a bit of ours comes and says, yo, she's kind of fucked up. She's kind of fucked up. How's this supposed to work? Okay, now you have this issue, men not being men. Well, how did you define it? Are you defining it for us once again? You don't like the response from the way you kind of laid the game out. You said, men, leave us alone. Cool, got it. You said leave us alone because you were influenced. You actually want the male attention. You want someone good in your life. You want a healthy relationship. You want to be married. But it's not cool to say. It's not the current trend for you to say that. Otherwise, what do they call you? They call you a pick-me. Well, you want to be happy. You don't want to work. You want to be a stay-at-home wife. What's wrong with that? Shouldn't that be your choice to do so? No, because that's not the mainstream influence, even though that's happening behind the scenes from a lot of the people spearheading the influence. So you get influenced, right? Like this woman we highlighted. You're talking about how come these men are dating out? How come when women do it, we get this back talk, as if you cannot easily see when women do the same thing. When black women back talk black men when they leave. Everything, right? Everything. So there's dirt on both sides of this equation, and we can easily talk about one, have space to talk about another. In reality, when you go by what people are saying online, and this becomes a very difficult topic for people to really compartmentalize and understand, you're talking to the subset of people that comment online. In the real world, right, where all of us go back and exist, right? Some of us only when our phones are down when it's time for us to sleep. We're in the real world. Most people are ambivalent about what you got going on. Don't care, not really moved by it. You can do whatever you need to do. I got a whole life I'm supposed to take care of. I don't have the time to jump in to your life to be hypercritical of it. But when I go and I live my social media persona, I'm going to come here, I'm going to troll. I'm going to say the worst vowels things I can think of that I'm not brave enough to say in the real world. Those are the type of people you're talking to. Those are the type of people you're going back and forth with. Most of us, we peruse social media, we might post something, but we're not in a comment war. We're not. We're not going back and forth in someone's comment section, calling them everything but a child of God. We're not doing that. We're looking and saying, okay, that's the point you're trying to make. It's when things maybe get funny or so egregiously bad that I'll comment. But besides that, I'm not going to war with you. Or something is so silly and I was like, I got to correct this, right? There was one post on TikTok, someone was talking about something was a hate crime. I was like, and everyone's under that. I was like, hate crime is an enhancement, not what you think it is. And then, thank you for that. Right? But besides that, I'm not going to go back and forth with you. I'm not going to have beef like on TikTok and this person said this. I'm not doing any of that coordinated stuff. Most people aren't. Most people are going about their business, going about their lives and saying, I got shit to do. I'm happy doing the stuff that's important to me. If I need a bit of entertainment, bit of chisme, bit of gossip, I'll open this up. But eventually I'm going back to my real life. So the majority of people are not in the comment section. But you'll take what people are saying in the comment section as gospel for men. Oh, look what the men are saying. They're all bad. No. No, most of them, those are a sliver of what the actual population is. But since we lost the ability to be critical and think for ourselves, we end up simply believing what we see on here. And that's good enough for us. We don't take the time or have the wherewithal to stop and say, how far is this from my real life? I'll use a better example. In my real life, the amount of black women I know that are phenomenal are in the majority, a high majority. The amount of trash that I know is next to none. Now, is that a factor? That's a bit of anecdotal experience for me. But the majority of women I've met in my life, most of them have been fine. This is not to say that the ratchet, that the ghetto, that the screaming, that the yelling, that the worst of us don't exist. They absolutely do. But when I now meet a new black woman, because I've been easily influenced, I'm going to treat her like the worst. I don't know her, but I have this image that I've heard that I'm carrying forward. But my real world experience, most of them aren't like that. I've let my real world experience be supplanted by someone else's. And to be completely frank and honest, I'm way too arrogant to let that happen. Who are you to determine how I think about anything? That is a point of pride and privilege. You don't get to come and tell me I should buy this versus that. I should look at this as positive and this is negative. Let me be the arbiter of my own sort of mind, my own sort of destiny. If I want to know if this is a better product or not, let me go and now look at people that have done that. But when you're constantly told what to think, how to think it, whom you should love, whom you should hate, You have to take a step back and say, give me a break. That's what people recommend. Yeah, take a break from social media. Take 30 days off social media and see how you feel. See how you feel. You start to come off this sort of angry, ambivalent high, where you start looking, saying, I feel detached. I don't know what's happening. I'm not at the forefront, right? Because that's where a lot of people get their news. But you feel more of you. A lot of those strings that you had out there that were attached to you were telling you what to think, how to move, what to believe. They start popping. They start releasing. They're not taught anymore. You're no longer the puppet. You get to decide, okay, what I want to do, how do I want to do it. I'm sure everyone saw those ads for that thing called Brick, where you tap your phone and then it shuts down most of your social media, so most of the things, until you go back and tap it again. So people would set it in an inconvenient location, tap it, and all the social media shut down. You tap it, you leave the house. You can't get into your social media until you go back and tap it again. But people finding it helps with productivity. It helps with their sense of well-being. Most of us are so deep in the trenches, we don't realize that we need a lot of this other stuff to someone else to take it out of our hands. For those that grew up under social media, under the internet, you're kind of stuck. You never knew a world without it. So you don't really have a sense of how you're supposed to think for yourself, or if you even own your own mind. It's part of you now. Children being born today will always have AI, right? They won't look at AI as a tool. They look at AI will be the new Google, right? Remember we said, when Google became a verb for us, when that slowly supplanted your own reason, your own thought, you didn't have to think about it. Hey, just Google it. Right? Just Google it. Realizing that's simply an aggregate of what's actually been put out there. Now we just go, hey, go ask ChatGPT. Let it tell you the truth. Even when they'll say, it makes mistakes. It hallucinates. I saw one lawyer being chastised by a judge. He said, these cases here are made up. They don't exist. And the lawyer's like, what do you say? Yeah, you took the easy way out. You went to ChatGPT. Hey, help me out. Give me the court cases for this. Yeah, it makes mistakes. It makes up things. It's not as fallible as we are, but it's still influencing you and your thought part. You're giving up more of your autonomy to these things. Now you gave your autonomy to some influencer that you never met. You gave your autonomy to some influencer, influencer with their family, with the wife, the husband, the kids, and then later on turns out one of them was on Ashley Madison, and the whole thing becomes a scandal. Okay, this point and they're doing this life, and you looked at them and said these are couple goals, and turns out, they broke up. Oh, this was happening behind the scenes the entire time. Now here you are, devastated, right? Look at Klay Thompson, Meg Stallion. People were devastated, still talking about it to this day, talking about how I wish it was me that got cheated on rather than Meg. We understand, term parasocial relations. We understand that. What I see it as is just more and more autonomy you've given up, more and more parts of your life where you should be thinking for yourself that you've given up. So as men, you have the same sort of guises in relationships, but it's harder to advertise to men. Some of the stuff that we want to do, right? They're big, right? They're big, but you can see us being influenced the very same way. When you're more concerned with your Jordan collection, you're more concerned with showing off how much money you have, the jewels, whether they be fake or not, the lifestyle becomes the most important thing to you, becoming more and more influential to women becomes the way they influence us. So what do? How do I get the men aligned? Well, influence the women first. All the things that you see, especially these young men trying to do, it's all to get more attention, to stand out to women, while women are being taught, you don't need this. This is terrible. Or he has to do X, Y, and Z now. He has to pay all the bills now. You have someone that's 19, 20, 21 years old with the inability to pay all your bills. But you're also of the same age, demanding he does the same. And if he, again, influences and listens to what society says, he's not going to try to say, what can I do to set myself in 10 years to be able to do this? 15 years to be able to pay all the bills. No, he wants to do it now. So what do? The only thing you have available to you is fast money. Men don't have as much ability to go on OnlyFans to make a boatload of money. This is just us being influenced. So when as men, we start looking and talking about our own mental health and the issues that are abound, first step is you got to own your own mind. You got to own your own schedule. You got to own your own mind. You cannot be at the behest of whichever influencer is in favor right now. They tell you this is what's important. This is what you should be doing. Hell, you don't even like the Knicks. You don't even like basketball, but you're out there right now ready to tear up the city. That's what everyone else is doing. That's what's in vogue. That biggest little idiom they told us when we were little. That question our parents used to ask us. All your friends are jumping off the bridge, would you? Yeah. Yeah. People absolutely, the answer is yeah. In fact, I want to be first. I want to be right there. The first comment, first. This influencer said, yo, we're jumping off the bridge, the Brooklyn Bridge tomorrow. Yeah, I want to be there. You're jumping off, I want to jump off. Because we have surrendered a lot of our thinking. Now, in terms when it comes down to just relationships, you're told men are bad. So now you go into that next date, that next experience as men are bad. If he talks about this, if he asks this, or you have some women saying, don't ask me about my job. Where'd you get that idea? Oh, because men are now going to try to use you for your money. They're trying to set you up where they can live with you. Have you ever encountered that? Or did you know someone online that you never met in real life? That happened to them. And then therefore that's enough for you to say, yeah, I got to look out for this. I don't hear in my day-to-day life from women we don't have conversations about men have to pay all the bills. Women in my life understand the economy, they understand how things are. Even though I have the ability to do that, that's not a conversation that happens. We're more concerned with helping out a family, helping the next generation do better, rather than saying, I need a partner where she got to make sure she cooks and cleans. No. People understand, especially when you get closer to the real world, most people are collaborative. Most relationships are collaborative. Most people out there don't have, once they learn to shake off a lot of the vitriol, they realize, yeah, men ain't shit, but men are great. They realize they're just like women. There's a lot of shitty women out there. There's a lot of great women out there. But once you're influenced, there is none. Now you're at the extremes. And it's fine. If you want to be at the extremes because your life has put you at the extremes, there you go. Find yourself there. But life has dealt you a very mild hand, very mild case of the heartbreak. Oh, this didn't work out, right? No, he's not a bad person. I just didn't work out. We're just not each other, whatever, right? Completely, hey, this just fizzled out. We're just not feeling it. He's not now a narcissist, but he's supposed to be a narcissist because that's the term. He didn't abuse you because things didn't work out, or he said it's not good for me. You just say, okay, this doesn't work. He doesn't have to be the great Satan in order for you to fit in with the narrative. You can just look at your own lived experience and say, yeah, that didn't work out. And I had some baggage or some issues that I actually did here. As men, we often, when we hear about all the things about how evil men are in those conversations, and when we obviously talk about accountability, but we talk about men aren't, emotionally intelligent. But we often will push back on and say, where's the emotional intelligence? How can you be emotionally intelligent without accountability? How is every single relationship you've been in someone else's fault? Someone else did something wrong, something bad. The reason it failed is always an external one. As men, we're often taught, even when you don't like the terms of masculinity as they are, we're taught, yeah, something goes wrong, it's your fault. You've got to find a way to learn from the situation, fix the situation. It's why, for such a long time, that happy wife, happy life was the thing that was adopted. When something is broken in the home, our emotions are broken. When the peace is broken, you have to go and fix it. That's what you're taught. That's what your role is. But they never tell you, how is this fix sort of supposed to happen? We think, well, let's go and identify what the problem is. The problem turns out to be us. For whatever reason, even when we come forward and said, hey, there's a problem, this is something that happened, and then when you said this and moved like this and did these things, this became a problem. Oh, it's still my problem because you only did that because I did this. So when you learn that this is the actual formula how relations are supposed to go, you silently die a little over time. A little cut, a little cut, a little cut, a little cut, until you get to the point where collectively there's this miasma, there's this lack of empathy. All we did is create generations of savages, generations of men that say, that was cool. If I can't win, all I can do is I'm going to run my race. And my race is the one that gets us to bed. It's a 100-meter dash, sometimes less. And if women are being honest with what they want, if it's a long-term relationship, it's if something sustainable, something actually healthy, that's a marathon. But we're just both running parallel to each other, but he's always going to finish first. And then he finishes first. And you get left and saying, well, what happened? This didn't go right. This didn't go right. Yeah, he's a savage now. We like to make fun of it. And we say men get like this because Susie broke their heart, right, in the 4th grade. No, it's the first instance. It's a lesson that, hey, this shit isn't the way you thought it was. And sometimes it's the woman's detriment, the way we're taught that you're just supposed to do X, Y, and Z. Buy the flowers. You write the poems. You write the letters. You show up. You damn near stalk her. You damn near ingratiate yourself with her life. And this is supposed to be the thing that women want because, well, we heard it from women. And it turns out, yeah, that's not, no, none of that. She wants that from the men she wants. And that's not you. 16, how could it be? How could it be? This is not going to be the thing that sustains you for the rest of your life. So your heart's broken. You tried all the things and you tried it multiple times. And this is the way things tend to go. These are things went for you. So now you couple that with all of a sudden feeling isolated in your life. You went from being hugged, a 7-year-old where people fawned over you, mothers, aunts, even teachers. And now you hit that awkward 12, 13 puberty. And we're just saying, your pits stink. You're awkward growing up. Your voice is, high pitched and it's low. You kind of remind me of the man that did me wrong. And I haven't really learned how to separate a lot of that. But I love you. But parts of me is, revolted by you. You're supposed to not feel this. But we understand how sensitive boys actually are. How a lot of this gets internalized. Now you go into the big, bad, real world and you do all the things that they said you're supposed to do to be a successful, good, young man. And it blows up in your face. And there's not really a place where you can go to express this hurt and this pain because we've also been telling you, man or woman, whoever you have, hey, man up. This happens. This is what it is. You got to get it back out there. You're taught to say, yeah, it hurts. It sucks. Get back out there. Go approach more. Go do the things they're supposed to do. Otherwise, you're not going to get the things you're supposed to get. Okay. You go back out there and you rinse and repeat. And then we look when there's no real place that young boys, especially young boys that grow up without their father, have a place where they can say, what I did wrong? Right? Why does it hurt so much? What am I supposed to do? In the absence of a father in that house, the streets are going to raise you. Okay? And the streets are just going to say, hey, you want to be a successful man? You got to get bitches. Right? You got to get bitches. You got this one. That becomes a rubric. That becomes the standard. Then we turn around and we say, well, how did this happen? We know a lot of the answers. It's not to say that when Black fathers are there that they're not the most involved. They are the most. But we know there's always going to be a group, a subset that is in vogue, that is popular. You see it again, how you're influenced. And we talk about right now, the nice guy is going through it. The good guy is going through it. Where you have women flat out saying, it's just something about the nice guy that makes me ick. Gives me ick. It just gives me ick. Yeah. It just makes me feel awful, makes me feel terrible. You know? Yeah. Ron, thanks for that. Yeah, that gives me the ick. So the good guy gets in a place where he doesn't really have a space to sort of exist. You're supposed to do other things, but you're not getting those results. So a lot of us as men, as young men, are trying to learn the ropes. But we had the advantage of not being online, not being influenced. We got a chance to make our own mistakes and come out of it and say, oh, this is what it is. Now we're wrestling with the being inundated and swimming through a bunch of information about how awful it is. Countless examples of how terrible people that look like us are actually behaving in society. I can't swipe through looking for content for the channel. Can't swipe through without seeing someone Black behaving poorly. And then of course you check the comment sections and it's just straight up racism, right? That's where we are. That's where we are. It's a tough time. It's a real tough time where the only solution has been the same throughout. Men have to get their own tribe, their own circle. You got to find people, other men that resonate with you, that understand what it's like to be a man today. And sometimes those are men that's not going to be in the same socioeconomic category as you. But if you guys are getting together for the sake of your mental health, that's what you're supposed to be doing. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Creating spaces where we can have those conversations without the influence of someone else telling you you should feel like this. A lot of our solutions, they're not extravagant, they're not grand. One of those, like earlier, it's like, yeah, man, going to the gym, right? Getting physical activity. Depression hates a moving target. You got to stay active. You got to find something to do. But one of the biggest things is finding someone just so you can sometimes sit in companionable silence, sometimes go back and forth with and just get all that ish out of you. For a bit, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go move. We're going to find something else. We need an action-based plan here. But when we get isolated, it's almost like you're ganged up on. When you push back in one of these comment sections, you say, no, man, men don't actually think like that. Like the video we had today, where you see more and more outlandish takes by women saying, if you stress a guy out, that he'll fall in love with you. Men like mean women. Men like bitches. Men like hoes. These are all, coming from women, speaking for men, telling them exactly what they want in life. And men are looking and say, if you aim low, you hit it every time. You can't, on one hand, talk about the caliber of men that you want. Someone that is emotionally healthy, emotionally intelligent, and think he wants someone to be mean to him. He wants someone that needs to be wrangled, needs to be handled. What part of the game is that? I don't think a lot of people, as much as they say they want a man that's emotionally intelligent, I don't think you want a man that is in complete control of his faculties and understands his place in the world. That man is typically a successful man, but he also understands that you're not what you think you are. You're not as hot shit as you think you are. You may look good, or sometimes more often than not, you don't, but you have the attitude of someone that is untouchable. So I don't think you want someone that has that sort of emotional regulation, that understands, hey, I don't mind being lonely if it means I keep women like you away from me, that I help actually maintain and cultivate my peace. I understand that I love peace before I love a woman. You don't want a man like that. But that's the type of men most of us need to be. When we get inundated and we hear all the stuff about how men are supposed to, a real man would, that's when your ears got to close off and say, I'm good. Thank you for thank you for whatever this was supposed to be. I don't need to be directed on what a man should be. You cannot fight my masculinity. You don't have the right. You don't have the wherewithal. If you're not allowed to. That's the stance we have to take going forward. Hear all your complaints and what you're saying about how much you don't like men. But right now, I don't care. We can deal with that after I get myself right. Me and my guys, I get that right. You want to complain about men? Fine. You're going to complain about men anyway because it's in vogue. It's the new style. We don't owe other people some sort of grace, sort of understanding to help them rest in their femininity. You don't owe anyone that. You don't owe anyone an ever changing list of requirements that you're supposed to do in order to get any type of reciprocal from a relationship. You don't have to show up and be all these things to now be deserving of a cooked meal. If someone's saying this is wifely duties, if you can't show any of this value to me up front, then we don't have to date. We don't have to know each other. And it's not a technique. It's not a ploy. It's not a game in order to bring you back into the fold. It's just, hey, this is the reality. I cannot control what you think, how you feel, how you move. All I can do is say, for my own mental health, I got to leave you exactly right here. Guys, that's we're gonna call that a day. We actually enjoyed that. Shout out to you guys for making it for another episode 2 of Unlicensed. We're going to try to do more of these because I think these are cathartic. I think these are good, and I would love a space where we can get more people. We can get people to actually come on and talk that talk. They can talk about their own issues or what they might have felt, what might been bothering them, or just create that space where people can talk. Yes, we have the capability of actually doing a call-in live show. But when we start it, it's going to be from the people that have been like OGs in the space, people that have been real, like you're vetted, you're always showing up for lives. I know I can trust you guys rather than someone coming in and asking me if I know Joe. If I know you in real life, then yeah, definitely come over the show if you want. Most of you that I know in real life don't want to come on. Besides that, listen, guys, I'll see most of you guys on the next one.
I did not know I held so much goodness. All seems beautiful to me.